Um, the recording will be available on our YouTube page, BDO East Africa. And for future webinars, you can register on our LinkedIn page where we post all the registration links for our webinars. So thank you for joining us here today. I'll begin with the agenda. So today we're going to start with an introduction to remote environments. And then we'll go into talking about remote work dynamics and trends in remote work. And then we'll talk about challenges and solutions in remote auditing, tools and technologies for remote auditing, best practices for remote audits. And then we're going to talk about 2 case studies and real-world examples on remote working environments. And then we'll talk about the essential skills and competencies for auditors in remote environments. We'll end with key takeaways and a Q&A session where we have 2 expert panelists who have a lot of experience in internal audit who are available to answer any of the questions that you have. So please do use the Q&A tab to ask any questions relating to this webinar. Any other questions, you can just ask them in the chat. So first, I'd like to introduce our first panelist, George Ndungu. He is the Director in Internal Audit, Risk Management and Accountability at BDO East Africa, bringing over 15 years of expertise in audit assurance, business risk, and internal audit. He has extensive experience working with multinationals across the Eastern African region in both the private and public sectors. And George's professional background includes leading internal audits, project audits, and process reviews for organizations across various sectors. His work ensures the reliability and integrity of financial, operational, and IT systems, providing effective recommendations and corrective actions. So prior to joining BDO, George worked as an audit senior at PKF, where he led an internal audit planning and execution, supervised audit teams, and prepared audit reports. He also has experience in advising clients on regulatory investigations, fraud and forensic audits, anti-money laundering compliance, and showcasing his robust risk management capabilities on large multidisciplinary projects. Thank you for joining us today, George. Our next...
Thanks, Bella.
Yes. Sorry. So our next panelist is Joseph Manzanje, who is a manager in risk advisory, internal audit, and forensics with BDO East Africa. He's an audit assurance and risk management and internal audit governance professional with over 7 years of demonstrated experience in several industries, including NGOs, FMCG companies, logistics, manufacturing, and banks and financial services. He has a strong track record in managing critical and high-level internal audits and forensic investigations and audits, and delivering practical, fit-for-purpose solutions to organizations that enable them to meet their strategic and operational goals. He's also highly skilled in developing of internal controls, developing risk management frameworks and internal audit programs, and analysis of suspect computers. So prior to joining BDO, he worked with RSM East Africa and ESL Group. And I'd now like to hand it over to George Ndungu, the director at BDO, to introduce BDO Global to us and our services. Thank you for joining us, George.
Thanks, Bella. It's my pleasure to invite all of us to this webinar. And it's part of the series that we've been organizing as a firm to ensure that all of us are informed, not only of what we do, but also of the latest trends in the market in our profession. BDO East Africa is part of the BDO network, and we work seamlessly across the world with over 164 countries, 1,700 offices with over 110 staff and growing. We pride ourselves to be one of the big audit firms in the world. And with that seamless connection, we serve our clients through a central point of contact, granting access to the relevant experience across borders to where and when our clients need us. Our strength is derived from our structure as a cohesive global network and dedication in internal integration. In each country, each of our member firms is usually composed of people who are knowledgeable about the national laws, business customs, and they're familiar with local and international business methods. And our clients expand globally and have access to our international network, and we can easily help them wherever they are with depth of experience from that pool on international matters, significant resources, and client service capabilities. In East Africa, we offer full service offering in audit and assurance, taxation, business service outsourcing, and advisory services, which is where the team on this call and the larger team that has been presenting this webinars is. We have risk advisory, forensic management consulting, corporate finance, among other advisory services, which if you connect with any of us, we are willing to connect with you and help you and be part of your business advisory team. Specifically today, the internal audit team, as Meha has introduced, is starting off a series of internal audit webinar series, which will focus on internal audit in 5-part series. And we focus on the challenges that each one of us, and especially the internal audit team, are facing to ensure that we add value to you, even as you add value to your organization. It's 5 parts, and today we are focusing on the remote environment, adapting to change, where we will discover how to navigate the complexities of remote auditing. And this webinar will cover the latest trends and best practices for conducting effective internal audits with remote work settings. There'll be a part 2 series in the coming month where we look at how we can enhance internal controls with technology. The third series will be about risk-based auditing. The 4th part series will be focusing on synergies between internal audit and governance, risk, and compliance. And we'll close it off as we close the year with enterprise risk management, strategies for effective implementation. Just mark your calendars with these dates as has been indicated, and keep looking out for on your inbox and our pages, as Mayor has mentioned, for invitation to this webinar. So as we dive into today's webinar, I'll do a little introduction into this, and Joseph will take it over from where I'll stop as we focus on remote environment. One of the greatest impacts of COVID-19 and the pandemic, when it affected us a few years ago in the marketplace, is how organizations changed the way they do things. There was a whole shift in remote work, and this resulted into significant transformation in the modern workplace. The shift from the traditional office setting to a work setup where you don't necessarily have to work physically in the office resulted to all of us finding opportunities where we can serve our clients at a different location, except where our physical offices are located for the companies or organizations that we serve. Fueled with technology, we found ourselves bringing in quite a number of changes, and which are quite profound in our workplaces and organizations. And internal audit wasn't left out. There are tools and technology which we didn't understand about before, which we've come to embrace, and they have come to be like our day-to-day tools, Zoom, Teams, and many others which we're utilizing even in this meeting, which previously we had to call for physical meetings and seminars to conduct such a training. Internal auditors have benefited from this, and in instances where you have offices distributed or in remote places, you found yourself accessing some of those documents and information remotely. And what has happened was against what we used to do before, where you have to be physically present, you had to access physical documents, you had to interact with people face to face, observe operations at first glance. What has happened now is remote work environment has changed the proximity to how we do things. Instead, now we have to embrace technology to have virtual collaboration, and platforms have been enhanced to allow that to happen. We have to utilize digital tools where you're looking at platforms or share points that allow you to share documents remotely. Electronic documents has become a way of us sharing things. And in the process, as internal auditors, we have to embrace that we have to utilize the technological infrastructure that is in place now and still ensure that we are performing our work with such a high level of quality without utilizing the on-site observations. Looking at that has changed. There are trends that have come along with that remote working dynamic, and it's reshaped the way and the landscape of how we do things. What once was a niche practice has become mainstream, significantly influencing how business operates and how employees interact. This shift has directly impacted on how even internal auditors are embracing technology. And you've realized as an internal auditor, as a chief executive, internal audit executive, you have to embrace technology as part of your tools. It has changed employees' expectation, and any person you're onboarding onto your team, you have to ask them, how savvy are you with technology and tools thereof? And then when you look at how you work, it has created a flexibility that you have to incorporate in your work-life balance. So focusing on those flexibility, one of the prominent trends in the remote work is increased flexibility. You find yourself starting off your work at 6 a.m. in the morning or working late in the night, as opposed to a schedule of 8 to 5, 9 to 6, which is what we are all used to. Remote work allows individuals to design their work against completeness of schedules and deliverables alongside personal commitment, fostering a better work balance, a better work-life balance, which was not there before. Previously, what used to be your private time was only weekends, but now you'll find yourself having a few hours in your schedule in the course of the week. But to ensure you still deliver to your expectation on your job, you start off your day way too early and still get your work done. This flexibility has led to higher job satisfaction and productivity for some employees, because the employees are not now constrained to the traditional office working hours and commuting requirements, for especially for people who are to a large extent working remotely. Flexible scheduling. For internal auditors, you find yourself scheduling your work in such a manner that you can be able to conduct various assignments in different time zones and locations according to your availability, which was not feasible before because you had to physically plan yourself to be available on those job opportunities. It has created some efficiencies which we were not seeing that before, and allowed timely completion of audit tasks, which auditors can pride on as you work and use this new way of doing things. But that came with a challenge. For you as an internal auditor, you had to ensure that you're savvy technologically to be able to use digital communication tools And you've seen a rise of use of those tools to ensure that you work remotely. There are platforms like Zoom, the one that you are using today, Microsoft Teams, Slack, that have facilitated seamless communication and collaboration among team members, regardless of the location you are at. These tools have enabled meetings, real-time messaging. There are incidences where now you're even incorporating cameras and videos to see what operations are happening where you have to visit sites. Document editing, you can easily now edit, for example, a Microsoft document, 5 of you across various locations, which was not possible previously. As an internal auditor, you have to ensure that your survey when it comes to cloud computing, which has revolutionized how we access data and how we store data. And organizations at this point, they have to invest in these tools to allow their employees to access the necessary documents and applications anywhere, as long as there's internet connection. For internal auditors, it allows you to have a real-time access to financial records, audit trails, and critical documents that allow you to work, seamlessly with the necessary efficiencies that is required of your job. So in some organizations, we are seeing real-time or continuous audit, which has changed the way we used to do things before. For some of us, we've invested in data analytics tools that are accessible in the market, that are integral to remote auditing. They allow us to analyze large data sets of information, which quickly and accurately helps us to identify patterns and uncover anomalies. So even for auditors, the focus now has been on exceptional reporting, which is now the new way of doing things. So you have to be savvy on data analytics to enhance your depth and precision of internal audit if this is your way of doing things and you work remotely. For some of us, there's a combination of the two. There's a hybrid model, which you combine a number of days when you go to the office and a number of days when you work from home. And that allows you to maintain the physical interaction and presence as necessary within the office, but still ensure that you have some private time where you can actually focus on a few other things while not physically visiting the office. That flexibility gives you an opportunity to have face-to-face interaction, in-person collaboration, but still be able to use technology to enhance your way of doing things. So to you as an internal auditor, you'll find that this hybrid model allows you to review documents, do data analytics remotely, have analysis of sensitive items and procedures without having to interact with that person physically. And it allows some balance in our audit process, leveraging on the balance of both the remote and on-site working style. One of the other things that remote environment has brought in is how we access talent pool. For example, for us as a network, we pride ourselves to having diversity of experience and expertise across the network. And this remote working allows us to access this pool wherever they are across the world. As long as there is a SharePoint, anyone within the globe can access that SharePoint and can have their input on the information that has been shared on the platform and provide their input to ensure that the client gets and has value in the service offering which we offer to our clients. So geographical location is no longer a limit to the pool that we hire as an organization. And quite a number of us who are working with international organizations now pride themselves as having a pool of resource and expertise who they share across that diversity. So the globalization of the workforce brings diverse perspectives and expertise to the organization, enriching the audit process. It has also allowed enhanced collaboration, where we see members across the globe, different parts of the world, fostering various collaborations, knowledge sharing, and it brings and enhances quality and depth of the audit that we offer to ourselves and even to our clients. And as I said, it's varied experience, varied insights from all these pools that we share together. But then that comes along with an emphasis to cybersecurity, because as we share this information, we have to ensure that security is of paramount to ensure that we protect sensitive information that is being shared across the network. So remote work environment becomes more prevalent. As it becomes more prevalent, we have to ensure that we focus on cybersecurity and we intensify the security measures that have been put in place to ensure that you protect sensitive information. So as an organization, you have to ensure that your digital infrastructure is secure to protect sensitive information, and you maintain the data integrity required at your level. You have to ensure that you use safe communication channels. If you have to share data across platforms, networks, countries, jurisdictions, you have to ensure that there is data encryption, including multi-factor authentication where someone has to log into a remote work environment. So for you as an auditor, you also get involved in this because as part of the areas which you focus on, one of it is cybersecurity. And you have to ensure that the necessary security measures have been taken care of. And you have to evaluate the effectiveness and security protocols necessary. Any vulnerabilities that could be there, recommend any improvement, and ensure that this remote work approach does not compromise on any data security. This focus on security or cybersecurity is critical to maintaining the trust and compliance of remote working. Remote work dynamic, as we mentioned, has an impact on the corporate culture. And even for some of us, when you're selecting the next job opportunity, you're looking out, what is the corporate culture of the organization that I'm joining, or the corporate that I am in? And it is critical that where we are, we build and maintain a culture that attracts talent or teams that could work with us. So it has transformed the culture in quite a number of organizations, and we find ourselves seeking for opportunities that allow us to work, remotely or hybrid, to say the least. And in that case, where you're interacting with people across the globe, and many of us are seeking for such opportunities because even in your knowledge capacity, you want to be with a team that you can be able to reach out to anyone across the network. So when it comes to how we evaluate controls, you as internal auditors need to understand this shift and the challenges that it comes with, how the controls, how the organization have put controls, how the employees are behaving towards this respect, and how we adapting to those changes, because it has changed the landscape of how we are doing things. This shift necessitates a high focus to it, as I've mentioned, and it impacts on the culture. And these challenges have to be addressed on a daily basis. And you as internal auditors, you need to focus on this. So I'll pass on this to Joseph to focus on the challenges and the solutions thereof. so that as we manage this dynamic, we know what is expected of us as internal auditors. Over to you, Joseph.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Meha. And for everyone else, welcome. So as we transition from the foundations of remote environment, it is crucial to address the real-world challenges we face in remote auditing. Remote auditing, while it's very beneficial in many ways, as George has highlighted, it introduces the several challenges that must be addressed to ensure the effectiveness and integrity of the audit process. So I'll go through a few of the main challenges and the solutions, starting with the communication barriers. In remote setting, the lack of face-to-face interactions can lead to miscommunications and mostly misunderstandings. Auditors may find it difficult to convey their findings and observations and any concerns effectively through the virtual communication tools. And this makes most of the organizations require people to still meet physically so that they can air out all their concerns. The things like the time zones differences can complicate scheduling meetings and real-time interactions, causing delays in the audit process. For example, with the remote auditing becoming more common, most organizations you deal with, you may find yourself auditing an organization that's it's out of your time zone. So setting up your meetings to scheduling your meetings with the team members, it has been becoming a very big challenge, and it has always delayed the most of the process it takes for you to finalize an audit process. So because of this, there have been tools like leveraging tools like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and the Slack. Slack that's mostly used for video conferencing as well as real-time messaging and the collaborative workspaces. These platforms can stimulate the face-to-face interactions and improve the communication clarity. Uh, Also, we can have things like regular check-ins and updates. So when you're doing your audit, during the audit process, you can establish a routine for regular virtual meetings and status updates to maintain the consistent communication and address issues promptly and timely. You can also use a clear and concise communication. You can do this by developing communication protocols and use precise language to avoid misunderstandings. Mostly after every meeting, what you can do, you can have a written summary and follow up an email after meetings that can ensure all parties are on the same page at any given time. Secondly, we have been having a challenge in the limited access to the physical documents. So remote auditing can make it difficult to access the physical documents and records that are not digitized. As much as most organizations currently they upload all their primary documents into their systems. Some organizations still do not upload those documents on their systems, so it becomes very hard to verify these physical documents. So these limitations it hinders the auditor's ability to review necessary documentation comprehensively to be able to come up with observations. So some of the solutions that you can look at is to digitize documents, whereby you can encourage organizations to digitize their documents and maintain the electronic record. This not only facilitates remote access, but it also enhances the overall efficiency and the security of document management. Secondly, you can utilize secure cloud-based storage solutions like Google Drive, Dropbox, or even OneDrive with Microsoft 365 to help to store and share these documents. And to ensure that these documents, and as you do that, you have to make sure that those platforms that you're using, they comply with the data protection regulations and they have the robust security measures in place so that these documents remain to be the safest and the secret of the organization. Also, we have been having an issue with, we can also use things like virtual data rooms for sensitive or high volume document reviews. You can use data rooms like the VDRs, which provide a secure and organized environment for documenting and sharing and for document sharing and collaboration with the team members. One of the challenges, another one is the technology dependence. Remote auditing heavily relies on technology, and any technological failures distract the audit process. Issues such as inadequate internet connectivity, software malfunctions, as well as the cybersecurity threats can pose significant risks. So for this one, you have to have a robust IT infrastructure. You ensure that both the auditing firm and the client have a reliable IT infrastructure, including the high-speed internet, up-to-date hardware, and necessary software tools, including even the malware antivirus structures. You can also provide comprehensive IT support and training for auditors to help them troubleshoot common technical issues. Regular training sessions on the use of audit software and cybersecurity best practices can also help minimize the disruptions. Then, in terms of again cybersecurity measures, you can implement stronger cybersecurity measures such as multi-factor authentication, data encryption, and regular security audits. This will help to protect sensitive information and maintain the integrity of the audit process. Then one of the other challenges is maintaining audit quality. So ensuring the quality and thoroughness of audits can be challenging in a remote environment. The lack of physical presence may limit the auditor's ability to observe process firsthand and gather the contextual information. You can have a solution on this by using standardized audit procedures, whereby you can develop standardized remote audit procedures and checklists to ensure that the consistency and thoroughness in the process. These procedures should be designed to adapt to the remote context while maintaining the high audit standards. You can also, as George has highlighted, you can also use, where possible, you can conduct a virtual site visit using the video conferencing tools. This can include the virtual walkthroughs of facilities and real-time observations of processes, as well as you can also use the data analytics and automation. We can leverage the data analytics tools to analyze large data sets and identify patterns or anomalies that may require any further investigations. So automation can also streamline the repetitive tasks that we do as auditors, and it can allow us to focus on more complex aspects of the audit. In terms of automation, you can use things like Zapier. You can, for Microsoft 365, you can use things like the workflows. This can help us to streamline the repetitive tasks so that we can be able to focus on other areas. I don't know. The last challenge is ensuring the confidentiality and data science. Remote auditing involves the exchange of sensitive information over digital channels, which can pose risks to data confidentiality and security. Unauthorized access, data breaches, as well as information leakage are few of the potential threats when it comes to remote auditing. And we can be able to go about this challenge with secure communication channels. You can use encrypted communication channels for exchanging information and conducting virtual meetings. Tools like encrypted email services, as well as secure messaging apps, can protect sensitive data. Also, we can have controls like the access controls. We can implement strict access controls to ensure that only authorized personnel can access sensitive documents and systems, as well as role-based access controls can help manage permissions effectively to who can be able to access certain information at any given time. You can also have regular security audits, whereby you can conduct your regular security audits to identify and address vulnerabilities in the IT infrastructure. This includes evaluating the security measures of the third-party service providers, as well as ensuring compliance with data protections and regulations. So while remote auditing offers significant advantages, it also presents the unique challenges that can impact the effectiveness and integrity of the audit process. So by proactively addressing the communication barriers, limited access to physical documents, technological dependence, maintaining audit quality, as well as ensuring data security, as auditors, we can navigate these challenges successfully by implementing the right tools, procedures, and security measures is crucial to adapting to the remote audit environment and ensuring that audit quality and effectiveness remain uncompromised. And moving on from the challenges, I want us to look into tools and technologies that we can use in remote auditing. As we had highlighted that in remote auditing, leveraging the right tools is essential for maintaining the quality and integrity of the audit process. We want us to cover the categories of tools that can facilitate communication, document management, specialized auditing, as well as ensuring the security and privacy. Just to iterate what George has mentioned in terms of communication and collaboration tools, we can use video conferencing software like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, etc. These platforms are vital for conducting real-time face-to-face communication with clients and even as well as with team members. We can have it's also crucial for interviews, meetings and presentations, ensuring that the human element of the communication is maintained, and even when they're in a remote setting. We can use things like the instant messaging platforms like Slack, Microsoft Teams, or even WhatsApp groups. It is useful for quick real-time communication. It also allows the audit team to track progress, assign tasks, as well as manage deadlines effectively. And it also helps in keeping everyone on the same page and ensuring that tasks are completed on time. Secondly, on the terms of document management and sharing tools, we said you can use the cloud storage services, for example, the Google Drive, the Dropbox, OneDrive. Uh, these services provide a secure platform for storing and sharing documents. They also allow team members to collaborate on documents in real time, ensuring that everyone has access to the latest version of a document at any given time. We can also look at the document management system, the DMS, like the SharePoint and DocuWare. Uh, the DMS provides advanced document control, including the versioning and compliance features. It is also essential for maintaining the document integrity, as well as ensuring that all versions are tracked and stored securely. Uh, One of the other tools that you can use is specialized specialized remote auditing tools. For example, you can use the remote desktop software. For example, TeamViewer, AnyDesk, these tools that can allow auditors to access and control a client's computer remotely. For example, if you're doing a forensic investigation or a special investigation as part of internal audit, you want to copy a client's computer, but you are away from the premises. You can connect to TeamViewer and AnyDesk and to be able to copy this using the forensic software applicable at that time. They are also crucial for reviewing systems and data directly from the client's environment, even when the physical access is not even possible. And then we can use electronic signature tools like DocuSign and Adobe Sign in terms to facilitate the remote signing of documents and contracts to ensure that all necessary documents are signed securely and efficiently, even when the parties are in different locations. Lastly, in terms of security and privacy tools, we can use the VPNs as are essential for ensuring the secure remote access to corporate networks. They protect sensitive data from authorized access, as well as ensure that all communication between auditors and clients is encrypted and secure. So we need, at any given time as internal auditors in the remote auditing, we need to integrate these tools into our remote auditing process to ensure that as auditors, we can overcome the challenges of working remotely while maintaining the integrity, security, and efficiency of our audits, our processes, and even our reports. Then I want us to move forward to the best practices of remote audit. So for us to ensure the success of remote audits, it is essential to adapt the best practices that address the unique challenges of this environment. We have things like establishing clear communication protocols, leveraging technology and tools, enhancing collaboration and teamwork, continuous professional development, as well as document and review remote audit processes can help maintain the quality and effectiveness of the remote audits. So as internal auditors, we need to have consistent communication. We need to emphasize the importance of regular and clear communication throughout the remote audit process. We need to set up consistent communication protocols to keep all the stakeholders informed and aligned during the audit process. We also need to have regular status updates, scheduled meetings, and establishing clear channels for quick queries and responses so as to avoid misunderstandings or delays, especially when it comes to the closing of the internal audit when you're doing we're discussing the management comments. We need to maintain an open, clear communication through the audit. Secondly, we need to leverage the technology and tools, as I mentioned, tools that are like the secure cloud-based solutions, as well as the use of digital communication tools like the Slack and Zoom and Microsoft Teams. We need to make sure that these tools help us to facilitate the virtual meetings, but also to maintain the engagement and clarity during the audit process, so that you can help us to simulate the face-to-face interactions. Thirdly, we need to enhance the collaboration teamwork. As I said, regular team meetings. So I cannot stress enough on the significance of scheduling regular team meetings to discuss the audit progress, address any challenges, and sharing any insights in between the audits, as well as these regular meetings are vital for maintaining the team cohesion and ensuring that all team members are aligned and working towards the common audit objective as much as implementing the audit program. And then we have the other best practice, the continuous professional development. With the remote environment being dynamic and changing every day, as internal auditors, we need to emphasize on the importance of providing the ongoing training for auditors on remote auditing techniques and tools. especially with the change of technology. We need to be attending to webinars, workshops, as well as online courses that are focused on best practices for remote audits to ensure that the audit team is well prepared and is up to date at any given time. We need to stay updated with the industry standards. We can do this through being membership with the professional bodies like the Institute of Internal Auditors as well as ECPAC. So we need to encourage our colleagues in the internal audit to stay updated with this industry and best practice of remote auditing, as well as we need to keep recommending participating in professional organizations, attending conferences, as well as subscribing to industry publications to continually enhance the knowledge and our skills. And finally, in terms of document and review and remote audit processes, we need to have to thoroughly document all the audit activities, including we need to record all the meeting minutes, audit findings, and decisions made during the process. We need to maintain comprehensive documentations that provides both transparency and can serve as valuable reference for future audits. And as well as we can also have post-audit review. So we need to conduct a post-audit review to evaluate the effectiveness of the remote audit process, as well as we can suggest gathering feedback from the audit team, as well as even the auditees to identify areas for improvement, so as to make necessary adjustments for any future audits that are going to be used. Then I want us to look at a real life case studies and real world examples. For example, this slide presents a case study on how Safaricom, Kenya's largest telecommunications provider, successfully transitioned to remote auditing during the COVID-19 pandemic. The company's approach highlights both the challenges they faced as well as the innovative solutions they implemented to overcome them. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, Safaricom needed to audit its financial and operational processes across multiple regions in Kenya while adhering to the safety protocols as mandated by the pandemic. The transition to remote auditing was crucial for ensuring the continuity of the audit as well as the process without compromising the health and safety of their staff in the audit department. So some of the challenges that they encountered were the communication barriers. It was difficult for Safaricom first in maintaining the effective communication across different regions and time zones. Also, they had these barriers led to the delays and misunderstandings during the audit processes, in the beginning time. And then they also had a challenge of accessing physical documents, which was particularly difficult to the remote nature of the audit. They could not be able to access all the physical documents they wanted to review. They also had a challenge with softwares in the places they were, and it was also hard for them to come up with the right softwares at the right time to support the remote auditing. So what Safaricom did, they decided to leverage on the technology they could use at that time. They implemented tools like the Microsoft and Zoom to conduct virtual meetings and provide regular status updates. These tools significantly improved the communication and collaboration across the regions, ensuring that everyone stayed connected and informed. Then they went a little further and took the initiative to digitize critical documents and utilize the secure cloud storage solutions. It allowed this step allowed the auditors to access necessary documents remotely, improving both data security as well as the efficiency of the audit processes. Okay, and in terms of IT support, the company provided the necessary hardware, software, and even training to all their offices to ensure that a smooth transition to remote auditing. This support was critical in overcoming the technology barriers that were facing, as well as ensuring that the processes could proceed without interruptions. So with the solutions that they had, the initiatives, it resulted to the audits being completed on scheduled times, demonstrating the effectiveness of the Safaricom's approach to remote auditing. So the transition to remote work led to the increased efficiency, particularly by reducing the time and costs associated with travel. It also improved data security and accessibility. The digitization of the documents not only facilitated the remote access, but also enhanced data security, contributing to a more streamlined and a secure audit process. It also, with the regular virtual meetings, it helped maintain team cohesion and clear communication throughout the audit process, ensuring that all the team members were aligned and any issues were promptly addressed within the time. So Safaricom's successful remote audit implementation serves as a valuable example of how organizations can adapt to challenging circumstances by leveraging the technology and innovative solutions. So these results highlight the potential for remote auditing to be both efficient and effective when the right strategies are employed, as well as maintaining the quality of the whole audit process. The second case study that we want to look at is the Institute of Internal Auditors in the Philippines. It highlights it conducted a virtual seminar to assist organizations in adapting to remote auditing. The seminar was designed to address the unique challenges of remote audits, as well as provide the best practices to ensure the audit effectiveness. So the IAA Philippines recognized the growing need for organizations to transition to remote auditing, especially in the light of the global disruptions during the COVID-19 pandemic. The virtual seminar was organized to guide professionals in planning and conducting remote audits while maintaining the high standards of quality and compliance. So it came up with with four objectives in terms of background, key objectives, the approach and outcomes. Um, so in terms of objectives, we had the planning and the conducting of remote audits. The seminar placed a strong emphasis on how to effectively plan, lead, and document the remote audits. This included the strategies for maintaining the audit process remotely, ensuring that all aspects of the audit were covered thoroughly despite the lack of physical presence. Then there was understanding of the risks and the pitfalls. The seminar identified the potential risks and pitfalls associated with remote audits, such as the communication barriers, the technological challenges, as well as the data security concerns, whereby most of the attendees were provided the strategies to mitigate these risks, ensuring that remote audits can be conducted with the same rigor as traditional on-site audits. Then we had the benefits and the limitation of remote auditing compared to traditional site audits were addressed in detail, including the considerations such as the cost savings, as well as the efficiency on the advantages side, as well as the challenges and lack of physical observation and the need for robust digital infrastructure. In terms of approach, uh, this the seminar adapted a comprehensive approach to learning using a mix of team exercises, group discussions, case studies, as well as lectures. This approach allowed participants to engage with the material effectively, apply what they learned in practical scenarios, and gain insights from the real world example. And this helped it to come up with the outcomes that provide a comprehensive understanding of how to perform the remote audit effectively. So the EAA Philippines seminar successfully prepared participants to navigate the challenge of remote auditing, ensuring that they could continue to perform high quality audits in changing work environment, as well as ensuring that they keep a pass by the changing in terms of remote audit. So this case study serves as a valuable example of how professional organizations can support their members in adopting to new audit practices and to any changes in the market. And as I finalize, I want us to look at the essential key skills and the competencies for auditors in a remote environment. We cannot highlight the importance of this more. So as the auditing landscape evolves with the increasing prevalence of remote work, so auditors must develop and hone special skills and competencies so as to remain effective. So remote audits that presented a unique challenge and that require not only technical expertise but also adaptability, strong communication, as well as self-discipline. So one of the key essential skills that as internal auditors in this time of remote auditing, we need to master the digital literacy. We need to be proficient in audit software and tools. So auditors must be skilled in using variety of audit management softwares like TeamMate, IdeaGen, and so forth, data analytics tools, as well as digital communication platforms. Familiarity with these tools, especially for analytics and like ACL analytics, for audit, you can use this TeamMate, and even the communication to Microsoft Teams and Zoom. It is essential to conducting the efficiency and effective remote audits. Secondly, as internal in terms of digital literacy, we need to have a solid understanding of basic cybersecurity principles. It's crucial for auditors working remotely. This includes recognizing the phishing attempts, using secure communication channels, as well as assuring that protection of sensitive data throughout the audit process is adhered to. Second skill we need to master is the strong communication skills, both written and verbal communication. So clear and concise communication is vital in remote audits to avoid misunderstandings and to ensure that all stakeholders are well informed. So auditors should excel in both written and verbal communication to effectively convey findings, recommendations, as well as updates. Also, auditors as internal auditors in the remote auditing, we have to master the virtual presentation skills. So we must be adept at conducting virtual presentations and meetings using tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Effective virtual presentation skills include using visual aids, managing virtual meeting tools, as well as keeping participants engaged during the meeting. Third, we need to master the time management and self-discipline. So remote auditing demands a high degree of independence and self-motivation. So as auditors, we need to manage our time effectively, prioritizing tasks and as well as meeting deadlines without direct supervision. We also need to be organized. Because being organized is critical for managing multiple tasks and maintaining a clear audit trail. So auditors should have a systematic way of how to document their work, track their progress, as well as ensure that all the audit steps are completed efficiently. We need also to have interpersonal skills. We need to have strong interpersonal skills which are necessary for building and maintaining relationships with auditees and team members in the virtual environment. So auditors should be able to establish trust and demonstrate empathy and foster the collaboration remotely. Um, as also the effective team collaboration and interpersonal skills. As part of a remote team, you require strong collaboration skills. Auditors should share information, support colleagues, and contribute to the team goals through the virtual platforms. Then there's adaptability and flexibility, as George had mentioned. The ability to quickly learn and adapt to new technologies is essential for remote auditors. Staying updated with the latest audit tools, software updates, as well as digital communication platforms is also crucial in remote auditing. Remote auditing also often involves the coordinating team members and stakeholders across different time zones. So auditors should be flexible with the work hours to accommodate virtual meetings as well as ensure that there's timely communication. And lastly, is the critical thinking. Strong problem-solving skills are necessary to address challenges that arise during remote audits. Auditors should be able to think critically, identify root causes of issues, and develop practical solutions to overcome all the obstacles. So, in the remote audit environment, success depends on more than just technical expertise. Auditors must cultivate a diverse skill set that includes digital literacy, strong communication, time management, interpersonal skills, adaptability, as well as critical thinking. So, by mastering these competencies, auditors can effectively navigate the complexities of remote audits, maintaining high standards and continue to deliver valuable insights and assurance to the organizations to help them add value and meeting their goals and objectives. Finally, the key takeaways as you conclude, I want us to summarize the key points discussed today about remote auditing. Meha, the next slide. These takeaways will help solidify our understanding of the critical aspects of conducting audits in the remote environment. Um, remote audits heavily depend on digital tools, virtual collaboration, and electronic document access. So while these elements bring flexibility, such as the ability to work from any location, they also introduce challenges, including the need of strong cybersecurity measures, as well as the potential for communication barriers. So it is essential to strike a balance between leveraging these tools and addressing the challenges that they present. Secondly, work-life balance and job satisfaction. I think one of the significant advantages of remote auditing is the potential for better work-life balance. Auditors can enjoy the higher job satisfaction due to the increased flexibility in managing their work schedules around personal commitments. This flexibility not only boosts morale but can lead to increased productivity. Thirdly, remote auditing it has fostered the development of virtual relationships and enhances that team collaboration. So even in a remote setting, it's crucial to maintain strong interpersonal connections with colleagues and the auditees. Effective virtual communication and collaboration tools play a key role in keeping teams aligned and engaged during the time of audit. Um, Also, we have discussed that how remote auditing encourages the digitization of documents and the use of secure cloud storage and virtual data rooms. These practices are not only improve accessibility and efficiency, but also enhances the security and organization of audit-related documents. Embracing the digital solutions is essential for maintaining both streamlined and as well as secure audit processes. And finally, we have looked at how the shift to remote work there's been increased there's been increased on emphasis on protecting sensitive information and maintaining data integrity. So as auditors must be vigilant about cybersecurity practices, including the using encrypted communication channels and secure storage solutions to ensure that all audit data remains confidential and secure. So in summary, remote auditing brings both opportunities and challenges, but by leveraging the digital tools, prioritizing cybersecurity, as well as fostering strong virtual relationships, auditors can navigate this environment effectively. These key takeaways will help you stay focused on what matters most in auditing, remote auditing, and especially in terms of flexibility, collaboration, security, and continuous improvement in your audit processes. Thank you. Back to you, Meha.
Thank you, Joseph and George. Before we wrap up, I'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to everyone who made this webinar possible. Thank you to the panelists for your expertise on remote auditing, and also thank you to all the attendees for taking time out of your day to join us, and we appreciate your participation. And I see that we have a lot of questions as well. So thank you for your participation, and we can get into the Q&A session. So we had several questions. I see that George has answered a few of them, and I can just repeat these questions. So the first question that's been answered is, how do we improve on supervision while respecting privacy? So you need an assurance that the staff have worked the expected hours and given the expected deliverables. So the answer is the chance of work culture allows the supervisors to focus on the results as opposed to the check-ins and check-out times. We now have tools that monitor the check-in and check-out based on logins and logouts into company resources. The other question is, how do we navigate cases of clients with high levels of confidentiality who are not willing to share information online and insist on visiting the premises physically? A case in point is the banking sector. You find that even if they were willing to send the information, their system cannot send this information. So George, thanks for your answer. He suggests that in this scenario, a hybrid approach needs to be adopted. So we have a few more questions that the panelists can take some time to answer live. So the first question is it safe to use a shared folder for documentation of reports and working papers where ICT have all the controls and access? And again, another question about something similar is, how can I ensure confidentiality of the information that I have shared through Google Drive? So Joseph or George, you can take this question. Joseph?
A number of occasions we've
Yes, you can go ahead.
yeah. So, yeah, depending on how the setup has been done, as internal auditors, and in circumstances where we've got involved, we've requested to be owners of the shared folders that have been created. But again, as you said, especially for IT teams, because they are super administrators, there's what you can control and what you cannot control. But once you become owners and they're not necessarily set up on that file, unless they are quite, they're poking onto what is being put on those folders, they on a daily basis, they will not have access to that folder. But then this is where security, and especially for personal data, critical information, you have to balance between hybrid and remote working environment where such information, and this has been has happened on quite a number of cases where you're sharing, for example, payroll information, sensitive information is not shared on such drives. but you have to physically manage that. The other thing is you manage encryption, especially for HR. We found ourselves having encryptions, and that password or encryption is shared with you directly. So even if that information is on that shared folder, there is encryption on the information that has been shared, which the ICT information will have access to, unless they crack it, which takes another whole process. How do you successfully manage a hybrid working environment where you didn't have an internal audit function? If you're starting from zero, it is a tight balancing act because, first of all, we need to have a buying of internal audit function to the auditees, and in an organization where now you're starting this off. So interaction with the auditees and with the teams that you're auditing has to happen in the first cycles, unless as an organization you have a hybrid way of doing things, such that even the rest of the staff do not actually visit physically the organizational premises. But at the onset of that function, you may have to interact with auditees to be able to have this function to be effective. Joseph, you can take the others.
Another question I've seen here from Maranga: what techniques can be used to maintain clarity and precision in audit reports, especially communicating complex findings and recommendations remotely? I think when you're communicating complex findings, one, avoid jargon, minimize the use of technical jargon or industry-specific terms that may not be familiar to all the readers. If you really need to specialize to use those terms, make sure you provide clear definitions of what those terms mean. Secondly, use simple sentence structure. Use straightforward sentence structures to ensure that your message is easily understood. Avoid overly complex sentences that will confuse the reader. Also, another one thing can have an executive summary whereby you can so that you can provide some information logically in terms of you can highlight the key findings and recommendations. It also helps readers quickly grasp the main points before you diving into the details. In terms of the flow information, present information in logical sequence, such as you can start with the background, you can provide a context of it, then you can follow up by the finding itself, the any analysis that I've done on it, and finally the recommendation. And also, if it's too complex, especially when the issue of maybe quality audits, you can use visual aids, you can use charts or graphs to help you summarize the numbers into more presentable way. So things like charts and graphs, I know they easily help to visualize or present complex data in a way that can easily be understood. You can also use a infographics if you want, but I think at the end of the day, you need to apply a mixture of simple sentences, avoid jargon, use infographics, as well as data visualizations to communicate complex findings.
Thank you, George and Joseph, for your insights. We do have some more questions. We just received one saying, how is the overall feeling of your clients in the remote approach? Have you done any survey regarding the change of approach? And do you think fully remote audit might cause some issues not to be identified due to the lack of physical presence on site?
Okay, I think the overall feeling of a remote audit approach, it depends. One, we have clients that they work 100% remotely. So for them, the remote auditing works for them because they do not have a physical place of business. So for them, they're very okay with how it is. Secondly, we have clients that are hybrid, that they both work remotely and also in person. So as internal auditors, we find balance to what works for them. So for clients that work hybrid, most of the times you find that all their documentation is online. They don't have any physical documentation in place. What we do normally to maintain the face-to-face traditional auditing, if they are around us, we normally have the entry and exit meetings are physical, so that we make sure that we maintain the physical interaction. But the rest of the audit can be done remotely as through the communication tools like the Microsoft Teams and Zoom to help us continue the audit effectively. In terms of overall feel, now it depends with the client that you are servicing at the time. So there's some clients that still believe in physical audits. So we will find a balance. We have maybe for the field work was supposed to take 2 weeks, we take 1 week physical, 1 week remotely. It's a delicate balance between what the class needs and what is more efficient and what is more efficient in terms of the audit process. Generally, I think as BDO, the remote auditing has been working for us, and we can say that it can work for anyone else, and we feel like people are moving more into the remote environment. Thank you, Meha.
Thank you, Joseph. So we have a few more questions. So the first one is basically, how do you verify the authenticity of the digital documentation? How do you know if that the invoice, for example, was not created after? And how do you do this at a scale? And then in addition to that question, the same person, Anthony, asked, some of us are still stuck between digital documents and hard copies. So why ask for signed documents? Why can we not copy paste all processes from physical to digital?
If I may take that one. We mentioned that it takes an organization's culture to manage and embrace a remote work environment. And the challenge that the first question addresses is a scenario where there is no move from physical documents to digital documents, but in organizations that post-pandemic have embraced the remote environment, the culture has changed across the organization to how we do things, such that from any of the departments, and if I focus on finance, the systems that have been put in place have allowed the documents, including source documents, to be attached and embedded into the systems. So the systems that we have now, and especially the systems that have migrated onto cloud, have a DMS that integrates every document that the finance are interacting with. So we are sure with the authenticity of those documents, because you don't necessarily have any other source document which is managed of the system. So when you're interacting with those documents, and from an audit perspective, what there is as auditors, and in scenarios where we are interacting or serving our clients that way, we get access to that system, and we can rely on that information because that's their way of doing things. That's the new norm. That's a new culture. And you can easily be, and the systems now have audit trails. So you're talking about invoices, for example, being created after the fact. The system can actually be able to pick out this. We've had interactions with a client where you have such after fact. Even from a finance perspective, you have to put the necessary comments while you're doing an after fact, or the system will not allow you to do that. And once the system has integrated and has DMS embedded onto it, some of those documents become read-only. So you cannot remove them. And if you do, there's a trail to it and comments and necessary approvals to that effect. So depending on what an organization has embraced, the whole shift to remote environment has come with its unique challenges, but opportunities, as has been highlighted, that where organizations have embraced them, it's creating some efficiencies which we were not seeing before. I think that would answer the two questions that have been highlighted on managing data and that is physical or digital. Thanks.
Thank you, George and Joseph, for your insightful discussion on all of these questions. We really appreciate it. Since we have no more questions, I think we can conclude this webinar. But before we let anyone go, I'd just like to talk about the future webinars we have in August for this month. So we have one on fraud focus, which is part 2 of our fraud focus webinar series it's about retail ruses exposing point of sale and inventory fraud. So we will step into the world of retail fraud where every transaction could be a trick. This session will cover the spectrum from checkout scams to warehouse woes, offering insights into the latest anti-fraud technologies, effective loss prevention strategies, and real-world case studies from the retail frontline. And then we'll end this month with the data privacy webinar. So for the registration links, please follow our LinkedIn page, BDO East Africa, and for our previous webinar recordings, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is BDO in East Africa. And one last thing before you all leave, we'd like to get some feedback on this webinar and our future webinars. So I'll just share a quick poll question that you all should take some time and answer, and then you are all free to go. So thank you once again for joining us today, and we hope this is a very insightful webinar. Thank you, everyone, for your comments about this presentation. We really do appreciate it. And don't forget to respond to this feedback survey. As we're planning more webinars for the year, we have a data analytics series coming up. We have corporate finance coming up. So we'd like to know what exact topics you're interested in. This will help us plan for the remaining of the year and, come up with new series. And also, don't forget about the webinar next week. The link will be shared in your email. We'll get a feedback email after this webinar. So thank you, and thanks for everyone who's participating in this poll, and hope to see you all next week.